Them that's got shall get, them that's not shall lose. So the Bible says, and it still is news. Mama may have, Papa may have, but God
You're
bless
still
the
creating and
child
directing your
that's
people.
got
Bless
his
it, Love Murray.
own.
Three.
Not his
Thank you,
own.
nice one, nice one.
You see?
Is he got Tron there as well?
Yeah, he would try. Look.
Yes, the strong get small,
So cool.
while the weak ones fade.
Empty.
Empty pockets don't ever make
The
the
grave.
grave. Mama may have, Papa may have, but God bless the child that's got his own. That's got his own.
One of the great voices of all time.
Money,
You
you've got lots of friends crowding round
your door.
but no, when you're gone and spending ends, they don't come no more. Rich relations give crust of bread and such. You can help yourself, but don't take
Too much.
too much. Mama may have, Papa may have,
You're gonna talk about yesterday.
but God bless
Yes, at
the
some point. Yeah.
child that's got
What,
his
what I
own.
want to know is you know, you've got a time frame for it, and you know, in terms of that time frame and when it's finished, and how we'll be able to get some feedback from it. That's what I'm saying, yeah. Because it's a mirror you're holding up to us, isn't it? Yeah. The wonderful Billie Holiday. What a voice, what a voice, what a voice. I think the nearest we have nowadays to the voice of Billie Holiday is the wonderful Erykah Badu. I was very fortunate one day to hear her sing live, like sitting in front of me, just singing without any music, and I think that's the closest voice we've got right now to Billie Holiday. Absolutely stunning. Yes, God bless the child. God bless the child, you know. And Sister Doctor and I was in here rocking to that, you know, because that's one of those voices. Yes, my sister, can you tell us how long is the trod likely to last? And when you've documented it, at what point do you think that we'll be able to have access to it? Because in a way, what's actually happening is that it's a very fortunate situation for us to have someone who is someone who looks like us holding up a mirror to us and saying, I think you ought to have a look at us, yeah. And what I'm saying, it will have a lot to tell us and teach us about, you know, where we're going and what's actually happening. So at what point do you think we'll have an access to it? And how can I put it? And how are you going to disseminate it? Is it going to be just like a written documentation? Is it going to be like in a book? Might be it could be exciting and be like in a book. And there could be, you know, nowadays we got books, audio books, and DVD books.
Okay, so let me
where-
respond. Let me
yeah?
respond. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm getting too excited.
No,
right?
that's fine. That's cool. That's cool. But you know, I don't believe in just letting you try and work it out when I could give you
Of course,
the
yeah,
response
yeah,
that
yeah,
you're asking
absolutely.
for.
Yes, yes.
So, in terms of my approach to these things, is that the way things are done historically doesn't necessarily need to be the way that we do it going forward.
Absolutely.
And I have
absolutely.
made a huge effort to break out of the box and the normal molds of how things should be done in terms of academia, in terms of the arts, so on and so forth, because I think that each area has its value and each area will apply to or appeal to certain members of our community, and maybe not just one aspect of our community. So some people will read books, some people will read academic books, but some people will not want to read an academic book. They may want, as you say, to listen to an audio book that is not as dense as an academic book. Some people may want to get an idea of what the findings are through meetings.
Right.
So they may wish to have a presentation. So part
That's
of what
true.
I'm aiming to do is to put the findings out or begin to share some of my findings, not just at the end, as I go along. So some of this information is already beginning to seep out. I'm already scheduled to do a number of presentations where I will start to share some of my findings, but of course I cannot share all of my findings because I'm still on the trot. I'm still traveling around our diaspora. You like that?
So,
That's right.
so when you do these presentations now, will they then be available in the final, whatever the final
Absolutely.
thing is? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So they won't just be presented now separated and then later on
No,
we won't have
no,
access to
because
them.
these form part of what the whole is.
Yeah.
All I'm doing is making sure that I'm feeding back periodically what I can,
Right,
how I
right.
can,
I get that,
and the
I
way
get
in
that.
which I'm feeding back is being informed in part by spirit. So the academy asks that you write papers. The academy asks that you present at conferences, seminars, symposiums, so on and so forth. But the time we're living in requests, especially if you're trying to reach young people, requests that you do periodic podcasts and uploads to Facebook and uploads to Instagram and so on and so forth. So I'm doing that. I'm also exploring the dynamics between the various dimensions that we inhabit and our different knowledge bases. So for instance, and I'm hoping you'll speak a little bit about the Black Cultural Archives experience that we had recently. For example, we have used music as a vehicle for our philosophers to talk to us for many years. Some of the philosophies of the Right Honourable Marcus Mosiah Garvey have come through music. Some
Absolutely.
of those parables have come through music. We have been communicating with ourselves through music, also through dance, also through other dynamics. So I'm also exploring those methodologies and those platforms for feeding back some of what it is I am finding. And as I said earlier on, I'm not just interested in the harm that's being caused to us. I'm interested in repair, our own reparation, as well as what other people owe us. So I'm interested in harm and harmony, which is a different approach to doing research. This is an African-centered scholar who is connected, firmly connected to my community and to my history and my ancestry. So I cannot just write an academic piece of paper to go into archives that many of us will not look at.
Well, that's the point I was saying about this interfacing. So this mirror.
Yes.
You can't have a mirror and there's only one person able to see themselves. So we want to see ourselves reflected back. What I love about what you're able to do is you're able to move through different modalities that sometimes appear not related.
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah? But at the same time, you make them related.
Well, you know, they very much form a part of our whole experience.
Right.
So unfortunately, we have frequently found ourselves in situations where we will go into professional environments. We don't let them know that we listen to reggae music.
Right.
We don't let them know that we do this.
Exactly.
We don't let them know that we do that, because we
Exactly.
just bring one dimension of ourselves.
Exactly.
I think that's not good for our health. That is
It's true.
that is tantamount to, you know, promoting schizophrenia, because you're just like, you know, you can't be a fullness
Yes.
everywhere you go.
Yes.
Now, really, aren't we deserving of
So
more?
your one personality over here. It's this duality that we have to live in this. That's the reality of the society, and that's really true. What you're saying is absolutely true. You know, when you over Yassa, you is one smaddy,
Yes.
and when you over Dessa, is a different smaddy.
And we all have different names.
Yeah,
and we walk different.
And when you over Dessa, you know what I'm saying? And it's like schizophrenia.
And you have to, you know, we find that we have to be careful, because we really don't want to drop in a lingua in a professional context.
Absolutely.
But
That's why it's so important that you keep trod.
Yes, absolutely. And you know, with civil society looking the way it does, I think those of us who are professionals and working with our communities have a duty to drop lingua and help our clients or our whoever we're taking care of understand that we understand.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
yes.
We've become professionals, but we
Yes.
haven't lost our
Yes,
humanity
yes.
or our spirituality. We understand and we can connect.
Absolutely. You're kind of reminding me of the great Louise Bennett, and to some extent Brother Muta Baruka in Jamaica. Because there's this idea that if you chat a certain kind of way, all of a sudden you don't have no brain anymore. You don't have the intellect. You know, but if you don't use freedom language to express yourself, then somehow it seems they marry that with intelligence. You know what I mean? So if you're chatting certain things, you can't be intelligent.
But you know, what you're saying is more serious than many may even realize. When populations came here from the Caribbean in an effort to rebuild war-torn Britain, currently many of us are referred to as Windrush generation, but you came here invited to assist, okay? And you were put into schools in the lower stream. Why?
Absolutely.
Because you didn't speak the so-called Queen's English.
Yes.
So that was, as you're saying, equated with levels of intelligence. And so because English isn't necessarily our first language.
This is after we were examined and our papers were sent from the Caribbean to this country. They were the people who were marking our stuff. So it's after you know what there is there, and then all of a sudden you say, when we get here, you say, well, and it's for them system that was running in the Caribbean. We've only developed having exams and being able to if you like process ourselves educationally relatively recently, really.
Well, we have always had our own systems, huh? We've always had our own systems.
Sure.
The way the rites of passage programs work and systems work.
Of course.
You get a sense.
I'm just talking about their
Yes.
formal, their education. When I'm saying to deny us, something that you were the ones who are, you made the exams, you were the ones who actually tested us, you were the ones who marked our papers, and then you said, well basically you're not up to much.
And here's the thing, when you speak like that, as many of us have done, it almost is that we're surprised, like, well, you're the one who marked it, but if your intention is not to have us reach our full potential,
Yes.
it doesn't matter that we marked it.
I hear that.
You know what I'm saying?
I hear that.
If no matter how intelligent and bright and everything you appear to be on paper, all of you cannot achieve positions of leadership in our society because you're the wrong color.
Exactly.
And it means something if you have people who are a different color in charge of you. For some people, they can't cope with it.
That's true.
White supremacy doesn't speak to that.
No,
So
that's
we
true.
have to either mark you down or lie
Yes.
or bust you into a different area
Yes.
or
yes.
call you out of your name,
Mhm,
you know,
mhm.
or just
Or just drive you crazy.
or- that's right, or pathologize you and say you're crazy when you're not
Not
crazy.
crazy, yeah.
What you're doing is standing up for yourself,
Self.
but that can be then you're accused of being aggressive. You know, you're
Absolutely.
waving your arms
I
around
know,
and you're
I know,
raising your
yeah,
voice,
yeah.
and I felt threatened.
I know,
You know, and
I
so
know.
those difficult conversations are things I think we need to have, because it resonates with a lot of us. A
Definitely.
lot of us have been penalized or have been told you will not become an astronaut. You couldn't be a pilot. You couldn't be a
chance.
neurosurgeon.
Mm.
Why don't you look at becoming a, I don't know, a road sweeper or a secretary? You know, that isn't that more fitting? That's more manageable.
Or a boxer,
Yes, or dance. Why
or
don't you,
dance,
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
What they never bargained for, I don't think, is the fact that when we become dancers, we inject into it some spiritual, some dynamic, some cultural stuff
Absolutely.
that they never imagined we would. So we've gone into music, we've gone into dance, we've gone into sports, and we have added a level and a dimension that they never saw coming.
Absolutely.
No matter what we do, it's going to be of a high standard.
Without
It is
a doubt.
it is divinely ordained.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, just to let you know, you are listening to Omega Radio, www.omegafmradio.co.uk, and you're listening to a reasoning with Sister Dr. Sandra Richards, all the way here from
Somewhere else.
somewhere else. Upon our international trod, yeah. I'm telling you, we have a very, it's a very unique situation, a very unique system, you know. It would be so wonderful if 10% more of the people that enter the universities and the higher echelons of education was to really vibe and flex, as we say on the street, in the way that this sister does, you see. Because the point is, she doesn't just, it's not just about her, and it's not just about her benefiting herself, and of course she should, but at the same time, she feeds everything back. Everything comes back to us so we can benefit from that. As I say, it's the mirror, you know. She's holding up the mirror and saying, have a look, this is what I'm seeing, you know. But the thing about it, with the mirror that she holds up, it's the way she interprets what we see, you know, and that's to me is what makes the difference, you know.
I think what you're saying is really powerful. I am cultivating compassion in myself, and I'm recognizing that those that go into the academy, the Eurocentric Academy, some would wish to, I don't know, maybe speak to a wider community, but the academy is very incestuous, huh?
Mm-hmm.
You write papers and you present to,
Sure.
you know, your peers and
you
your
and you
peers.
talk to others that talk like you.
Yes, and then you're interrogated by your peers,
Yes.
and then you might get published following the interrogation and feedback, and you know you're really on a career track to becoming a professor, or you know what I mean. But you have to put food on the table, so you know not everybody wants to eat dry bread.
Yes,
You know what I'm
yes,
saying?
I
So
hear that. I hear
you
that.
get caught up in what the systems of recognition are within the academy,
Right.
and the systems of recognition are
And
that
they
you.
become almost ends in themselves, don't
Well,
they?
you publish or you perish. When I was moving away from what is traditionally seen to be the approach, one of my supervisors asked me if I knew that I was committing professional suicide. And, you know, I never heard the term before.
Wow.
And I was like, okay.
Wow.
But you see, me no he know what you mean now.
Professional
Yes.
suicide. Wow.
I'm not in what he's in. I am
Wow.
connected to a community of people. I belong to a village, and it's not the village in the historical sense, because we have been scattered and dispersed.
Yeah.
But you know,
I think it brings me down to the great Kwame Ture, the former known as Stokely Carmichael, said there's two types of people in our community that rebels against the system. One, he classified one as you're either militant or you're a revolutionary. If you're a militant, you basically, you rebel against the system out of your own individual interest, because really you just want access to whatever the system have, and you want to be glorified by the system. And then he said, then you have the revolutionary, that it's not about material gain for them and building themselves up individually. It's about, the total change for all of us as a people. It's about the betterment of all of us.
It's about elevation.
Yes.
Some people speak of transformation, and in certain areas of, healers and therapists,
transformation, definitely the buzzword.
That's that kind of language.
Yeah.
And I don't fit neatly in those boxes. I am not too interested in. You've spoken to me for quite some time. Many people have spoken to me about, well, Sister Doctor, you need to, promote yourself more and speak about yourself. And my thing has always been, it's really not about me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about me. It's about us.
Mm-hmm.
We are in trouble. This is a war. The people them don't like us. When you go into their health service, make sure you ask for a second opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Do not automatically accept what somebody who's smiling at you says, because crocodile smile.
Absolutely.
I know it bite you,
I know.
Okay,
Tell me
I'm
about
just
it.
saying.
Tell me about it. Yes. Would you like to, after we talked a bit more after the break, would you want to? People can call in, ask you questions, whatever.
Of course.
Get involved in the reasoning.
It would be great.
Yeah.
It would be great.
Okay, you hear that from the sister. So if when we go into the news and ad break after that, if you want to get involved in the reasoning and feel so inspired, of course.
Give the number.
Yeah, you can either call in 07 539 968 143, or you can just whatever, sit back and full joy, so to speak. I'll give the number again for those of you who don't have the number: 07 539 968 143. Okay, so we'll come back after the news and ad break. We'll continue the reasoning with Sister Dr. Sandra Richards, and I'm finding it most fascinating. What I will try and do is address some questions that have come through on the phone. I will just do that quickly before we start the next segment of the program.
We'll talk about the BCA as well afterwards.
Yes,
The
we're going
BCA.
to talk about the BCA. We're definitely going to talk about that. We have to talk about that.
Amazing place.
That's absolutely true.
Amazing.
Absolutely true. We sure said the trod start already,
Yes.
the trod don't begin today, it start already. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So.